Welcome back to another episode of the Digital Dentistry Decoded podcast. And on this episode, I was actually a guest on the ProTalk podcast with Dr. George Raeber and Dr. Florian Kirsch at IDS in Cologne, Germany. Now, you may not know who these guys are, but they are very high-level people at Straumann. And I have to say, this was one of those conversations where you just click with the hosts. So what do we dive into? Well, first we talk about the reality of where digital dentistry is heading. AI, consolidation, and where I think the industry is honestly a bit of a mess right now, with over 25 different intraoral scanners when we probably only need about 5 or 6. Second, we get into the lab versus chairside discussion, and I'm very clear about what I tell to lab owners who want to survive the next 15 years in this industry. Third, we discuss the whole platform game that's happening. Every company is talking about platforms, cloud platforms, etc. But I challenge whether clinicians actually want them or not. I also get to turn the tables and ask the hosts of the podcast what they are seeing from the industry side, which is fascinating because these guys keep a very close eye on the industry and have a completely different perspective than us clinicians. One thing I want to mention was that this was recorded live at IDS. So there is a bit of background noise, but this conversation is totally worth it. Also, we touch on the SprintRay partnership, which I think is probably one of the smartest moves that Straumann could have done in digital dentistry. So if you're interested in getting the real unfiltered view of where digital dentistry is going, not the marketing brochures, but what is actually happening in our industry, this conversation is for you. Enjoy the podcast.
You're actually known probably to everyone in dentistry that is interested in anything digital. Can you explain a bit what resources you make available and what does it stand for?
Of course, so IDD is Institute of Digital Dentistry, and if you don't know, it is primarily a free resource, IDD. You can go on and you can go into our blog, and I think the main thing though we do is reviews. This is what made us famous, is reviews of digital dentistry products. And of course, look, IDD has grown from me just writing blogs to now a team of 10 just on IDD alone, full time.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, 10 people now.
So, welcome to Straumann ProTalk, the Pulse of Dentistry. We're recording this live from the IDS. I'm George Raeber, and together with my co-host Florian, we're really pleased to actually welcome you, Ahmad, here. You must have had a very, very busy day at IDS, and so we're super pleased to welcome you at here at the booth and actually doing this podcast together with us.
Thank you for having me.
So you're actually known probably to everyone in dentistry that is interested in anything digital. I mean, you're one of the go-to resources when it comes to talking about intraoral scanners, printers, or software. And so it's really exciting to have you with us to dive a little bit into those topics. And I'm sure our listeners, they're just wanting to hear what you saw at the IDS and what stood out. We'll come to this in a minute, but first we would like to start with you. So maybe, Ahmad, can you just introduce yourself in 1 minute?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm sure people are sick of hearing it because it's the same introduction as the videos. But I'm Ahmad Al-Hassiny. I'm a dentist. I'm a full-time private dentist, still full-time. I love dentistry. I love practicing.
Full-time, sir?
Still full-time.
I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, I don't know either some days, but it's been a fun journey. So I work full-time in New Zealand, and my father's a dentist, my brother's a dentist, my mother's a dentist, and together we have a family business. We run and operate about 41 dental chairs across 6 locations, and we have a digital lab with 8 technicians. Or 6 technicians, I can't remember. Yeah, after 100 staff, it's just I don't count them anymore. But it's we have a big team, and you know, I've been involved in digital dentistry for close to a decade now. As soon as I graduated, I worked with my father in private practice, and he had scanners, and the rest is history. It's been an interesting journey.
Well, basically, from the get-go, you were involved in digital dentistry. Or was there any defining moment where you said, okay, now we need to switch gears and go from more conventional to fully digital dentistry?
I think I was very fortunate. As soon as I graduated, I went into my father's practice, and My father's a very big role model for me, big time. You know, he's like my hero still to this day. And he had scanners. I was lucky. I went into a practice that had scanners, and he had a Plan Mecca. It actually was E4D at the time, if you remember those days. And he had that for a few years, and we used that. And then, like many people, you have problems with that product, so you look for the next product. So eventually we had 3 different scanners in the practice. And that was kind of like the start of IDD point, because I started comparing between them.
Oh, that's already the starting point of, your digital dentistry career. Now, maybe looking back a bit at your successes, it's quite impressive that you have such a big clinic and it's still a family-run business. You do you just mentioned that you are 100% as a dentist still working. You do a lot of other stuff. What's your secret to success? How do you keep up with all of those new developments and balancing, basically practicing while being at the forefront of the bleeding edge of technology?
I guess, look, honestly, it's hard to balance. I don't think no one has mastered the balance yet.
Not perfectly, yeah.
Look, I really, truly believe, this is a question I get asked a lot because people can't believe why I work so hard. I really do believe when you're very passionate about something, the cliche doesn't feel like work. I mean, it feels like work. You're tired, but you have a reason to wake up. You're excited every time you wake up, and it's very interesting now, dentistry, because it's changing so fast. And I guess to answer your question, how I do it, a good team, a very good team. I mean,
how many travel days do you have per year? Because you're
Typically,
basically attending all of the global conferences.
I would travel probably 2 to 3 months per year. So not too bad. Basically, that's my holidays. And
it's not the worst places in the world,
not the bad places. Germany, Europe. Look, it could be
always
worse.
treated very well.
I can't complain. It's like a
Nice
very
dinners.
good gig. Nice dinners and nice people. But look, I think having a strong team makes a difference. And I work with my father, my brother. Who can you trust more than your family? And so that helps a lot, because when I'm traveling and doing this stuff, they're in New Zealand taking care of business.
I have a question.
Please.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
With all the chairs you have right now in the family business, does every chair has an I/O?
No.
No? But do you believe in this? Okay, in the future, like really every chair will have one, or it's like
I
going to
think
be a
it sounds
few per
good.
practice?
I think it sounds good, but it's quite inefficient to have one every single chair. I mean, it sounds nice, but I mean, look, I can put a scanner in every single chair. I have like over 30 scanners, but usually each practice has 1 or 2 or 3 circulating scanners.
And it's more an investment reason, or it's like just doesn't make any sense?
I mean, look,
for you
to
from
be
a
honest,
workflow
right
point of
now, unless the scanner is built into the chair, right now it's a laptop and a cart, and you don't
Maybe
really
that's
want
something we had kind of an innovation idea afterwards for allied stuff.
if it's built straight into the chair, then it makes sense. But look, I don't think it needs to be in every single room. I think it's normal to have like a cart, but it's a nice dream for it to be there in every single room.
If in the industry in particular, no?
And if prices go down, maybe one day it's going to be just part of the equipment.
I just feel like 1 or 2 scanners in a clinic is plenty.
Let's talk maybe a little bit about the industry of digital dentistry. So it's when I looked at it, it's quite amazing. So you have 10,000 subscribers on YouTube only. You mentioned that you also have, let's say, a email subscription base of 60,000 people that you reach out to. So as we said in the beginning,
I actually receive sometimes 2 or 3 mails.
Maybe it's double counting.
Maybe
You have to clean up your database.
I know. I'll find Florian's name and delete him.
Please don't. What drives you? What do you try to achieve? Because there is so much hard blood that goes into it. You can feel that. What is your goal with Institute of Digital Dentistry?
Look, the main reason why I started it was that the difficulty with finding information. I always remember why I started IDD, and it was very simple. It was a time when I had experience with Trios, Plan Mecca, and CEREC Bluecam. And I sat in a study club of about 50, 60 dentists, and a sales rep bought a 3M scanner, True Vision, now discontinued. And he said, this is the best scanner in the world, and this is the best. You know, this was close to 10 years ago. And so the whole industry was different. And I was sitting there in the room watching people like believe this, and I knew it was wrong. This was the time where powder you still had to do, and I just felt, you know, this is the resource I wanted to have. And if no one was going to build it, I was going to build it.
No, you were very successful with that.
I was, look, right place, right time, right person. I mean, I feel like it's a classic saying. You just, if you work hard enough, you get lucky.
That's true.
Yeah, but you also, I think you hit the nail on the head with the information that people are lacking, because this comparison that you're doing and also the details of information that you bring, I think it influences a lot of people for buying decisions. And I believe this is what they also value a lot. So,
and I'm like a clinician first. I'm not a press guy. I mean, IDD is now like a press machine, but I am a clinician first. I'm not a magazine, I'm not a newspaper, I'm not an advertising agency. And so I feel like this is why clinicians resonate with what I'm doing, because clinicians like to hear from clinicians.
And it's real world expertise. It's not just theoretical.
And it's also simple stuff like, how does it work?
Exactly.
Does it work?
Yeah.
Not the technicalities and the focal length and all these things. It's just, how does it work? What are the flaws? What are the benefits? What's the pros? What's the cons? And more importantly, what's the cost?
Exactly.
Because in a time when I started with digital dentistry, it was even hard just to get a price.
The price, yeah.
Even to call the rep and get a price, they would avoid and no, are you interested in buying? Now it's all transparent.
Exactly. I have a question. So how do you draw or do you draw any lines? So how does it usually work? So companies come to you and said, you know, I would like you to test my new product, or you actually said, yeah, I saw this new product here over there. Are you interested in me testing this?
I used to ask.
Okay.
And now it comes to me. So when I first started, obviously, and I'll never forget, this is a funny story. We're in IDS. So in 2019, this was the time I released that scanner review. Do you remember the first IDS review of scanners?
Yeah.
Became very famous.
Yeah.
This is what started IDD. And I'll never forget, it's funny because looking through the window here, there's Medit.
You see Medit, yeah.
And this is how it started. In 2019, I was a nobody. And so I went to the Medit booth, and they just launched, and they were very cagey and scared of press because they were scared. It was their first product launch.
Yeah.
And I asked them, not for a review, I just asked them, can I interview you about your product? And I'm not joking, I basically got kicked out of the booth.
Really?
Kicked out.
As a potential customer, they still were too scared to talk to you.
No, they were scared. It was strange. And also it was bizarre. They're like, well, what the hell is going on here? And I remember they had I forget his name. He's a lovely guy, the American guy that really ran Medit.
Yeah, I remember them. Yeah.
He's very like New York style or something.
Yes.
And so he kicked me out of the booth.
Go away.
Go away, get the hell out of here. What the hell are you doing? And it's funny, it comes full circle. So back then I used to have to ask, but now I think people realize what I'm doing, and I've really tried to be credible. It is fully transparent. I don't have an agenda. I just want to provide value. And now that I have the relationship with all the companies, it's much easier.
Yeah. Do you reject products as well? No, I wouldn't reject. Because you're very good in you're very neutral now, so you have pros and cons, and maybe you receive a product and said, maybe on this product I only see cons. Yeah. And I still have to find something positive about it. It's really difficult to do that.
I'll be honest, the thing is these days, most scanners scan. So you can always find a positive. And the ones that have cons are usually cheap.
Yeah.
So the positive is it's economical. That's how it is. But I am very clear when something's wrong, because I am aware of the influence of what I do. I hear it a lot, and I don't want to ever lead clinicians astray. It's very important to me. I mean, a cornerstone of what I started this for was to be an objective, trusted source. So I don't want to just talk about the good and not the bad.
Yeah, of course.
So maybe for those who don't know IDD yet, maybe there are not too many, but can you explain a bit what resources you make available and what does it stand for?
Of course. So IDD is Institute of Digital Dentistry. And if you don't know, please, by all means, go on the website, instituteofdigitaldentistry.com.
We're going to have the whole
Thank you.
banner.
I wish, it's a long domain name. I really wanted to buy IDD, but it's already taken and they want like 5 million for it. But so it is primarily a free resource, IDD. You can go on and you can go into our blog, and we basically are like a mixture of press and case reports and clinician reviews and unboxing. So in these sort of events, I do a lot of press work where I'm just covering all the latest things in a very objective tone. It's not, wow, this is so revolutionary. It's very objective. This is what's out. This is what's nice. This is not nice. And I think the main thing, though, we do is reviews. This is what made us famous, is reviews of digital dentistry products. And of course, look, IDD has grown from me just writing blogs to now a team of 10. Just on IDD alone, full time.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, 10 people now, and
so they're pre-preparing it. So
no, I write everything.
You write everything? No. I mean the product testing.
No, I do all the testing. The 10 people I do. I still want to control this. Maybe a bit. This is my dentist side coming out. We're such control freaks. But no, the other 10 people are things like video editors.
Yeah.
I have like a team of video editors because there's a lot of content. You guys know.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
And
Video
looks
editing.
professional.
You
on
have
IDD,
to. I
so,
have a very high standard. And so, apart from that, we also do training. So I do a lot of training in New Zealand, but I know around the world, I see our database of around 60,000 people, and the vast majority are not in New Zealand. Mm-hmm. I think New Zealand's maybe 1% of our database. 30-40% is US, 30% is about Europe.
So in New Zealand, nobody knows you?
Oh, they know. No, they know. They know. But New Zealand is just not like a big market like US. So what I
How
also
many dentists do you have in New Zealand?
3,500.
Oh.
So what I also do is we have an online training platform as well. So there's a lot of resources, but mainly I just publish free stuff.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And you have Digital Dentistry Decoded.
It's a new podcast I started.
Podcast, right? So, I mean, you are already having very nice resources there. So, can you tell us a bit more about it? How did it actually land?
Yeah.
Do you see an impact?
That's another
any tips
fun.
that you can give?
That's another fun project. I mean, the tip is have interesting people on your podcast. It's always fun, when you engage and you can just feel like you click with whoever you're
with the guests.
With the guests. It makes all the difference. But that podcast was interesting to me because I really like industry. Mm-hmm. I really, really like industry, and I have a lot of respect for people like you and Florian and what you do, because you guys are high-level people. And I think why that podcast started was there's a lot of dentist podcasts, a lot. And it's usually dentists talking to dentists.
Uh-huh.
And, we get it. It's the same KOLs constantly talking to each other. And I have respect for these KOLs. They're amazing clinicians. I was very fortunate in the sense, because of IDD and being like Switzerland of digital dentistry, I'm friends with everyone. Mm-hmm. I'm connected to every single digital dentistry company on a high level.
Yes, it's true.
And I was very lucky, and it's a very unique proposition. And I have deep conversations with every single digital dentistry company. And I could feel how inspired I would get talking to you. And so I thought, look, why don't we make a podcast and invite these people? Mm-hmm. And funnily enough, you guys are interested. Let's have a chat. Mm-hmm. But it's not like a marketing piece. Like, I challenge you. Mm. If there's something wrong, I challenge the guest. But, it's just fun.
I'm so much looking forward to your questions today.
It's only on your podcast.
We'll get you on. We'll have to get you on for it. But, it's just fun. You get Rune, you get Max Mills from Dent Supply. We have to get you on the podcast as well, or Andreas. You get the Medic guys, and it's fascinating to me because it's an insight that clinicians don't see before.
Exactly.
You industry guys,
that's true.
The clinicians just see you as, I don't know, in the back room, and they don't actually realize how high level and smart you are and how much you observe the industry. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's a really interesting perspective on dentistry, that because this is your business and I'm sure you care very deeply about what's happening.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so it's very interesting to tap into that and have a discussion of what you're seeing, not just what the clinicians are seeing on the trenches.
It's true. Maybe the person who has the most holistic view of all the industry players at the same time.
Maybe, I guess from a clinician point of view, but I feel like higher level, you guys also have a holistic view. You guys have meetings with each other. But in a clinician view, I know pretty much the strategy of every company.
Yeah. We don't have regular discussions with our direct competitors.
But I'm also, I think the one thing I've done well is have credibility in the sense that I've built trust.
Yes, that's
And
key.
It's true.
It's very hard to build, and it's very easy to lose.
Yeah.
And so I'm very careful, you know, when something is told to me, it's just between us.
That's good.
But it's very interesting to listen into your podcast because there is a lot of personalities from the dental field, and I mean you have some regular guests like Rune, you know, where every year basically you look into the future, you talk about trends,
and he's fun, man,
and
he has a lot of data.
Yeah,
and people don't realize how much data that industry has. Like Rune sees every single scan from 3Shape, where it's sent, how long it takes. This is fascinating.
I mean, this is also what we see when we do market research. I think when we then share this also with the dental community, they really appreciate, you know, the global view, because it's a different story in every country. Yeah. So yeah,
it's nice. It's nice, you know, as we've done this podcast, and it was purely just fun. I just like talking to you guys. Yeah, I really enjoyed just talking and just having a discussion like friends. And we've had nice feedback. Like people enjoy the podcast. They tell me, "Oh, when I'm driving."
How many subscribers do you have for the podcast?
It's part of the same channel. Okay. So it's just on the YouTube channel. So we have around 10,000 subscribers, and on our Instagram we have around 20,000. But to be honest, the main thing I did wasn't YouTube and Instagram. I did mail list and platform, which is you know it has its benefits because you're not at the mercy of Meta.
Yeah, exactly.
It goes on all channels. So. Okay, so maybe let's switch gears a bit and talk about you know, digital dentistry, and you know, maybe to start, I would be very interested in your view on CAD AI. So what's currently happening in the field? What do you observe? Where do you believe is the field, you know, heading to, and what's at the forefront?
First, it's no doubt where dentistry is going. There's no doubt in my mind, and I feel like simple things like a implant guide or a simple crown design or a splint, all of these tasks soon in the future will be completely AI driven. And it's like Rune says, to quote Rune again, he's like here in spirit with us. It's inspect and correct workflow. He coins this term. Yeah. And I think this is where it's heading. And it's already really there. It's just, I still feel like clinicians have hesitancy towards AI and
where do you think this is coming from?
Lack of trust in the technology. I feel like it's the same cycle that we faced with intraoral scanners. When I used to teach intraoral scanners close to 10 years ago, there was a real lack of trust in it working. You would get scoffed at that it's better than impression. Yeah. And now it's changed. And I feel like we'll go through the same technological curve with AI. But I truly believe that, look, and it depends lab or chairside. It's very interesting when we talk about these topics because lab and chairside, even though technicians and dentists, they're both teeth nerds, they're totally different customers. They're not even remotely close. And so I feel like for lab, many are already employing AI, Bytefinder and CAD AI. Many are doing it, automate. And I feel like it will take a lot of the load of these these menial tasks. And the technicians can focus on things like cosmetics, dentures, full mouth rehabs, things that AI can't do. For the clinicians, they're still clinicians. I think mastering AI, and whichever platform is going to master AI, will unlock chairside printing and milling. Because right now it's still the #1 barrier.
Absolutely, yeah. I have a question.
It's not hard to print, right? It's not hard to print, but it's hard to do the CAD.
You mentioned the impact on labs. Yeah. So if you put yourself in the shoes of a 35-year-old fresh lab owner of a dental lab, what would be your first top 2-3 priorities?
Digitize.
To invest in,
digitize,
and
100%.
to make sure that as well the next 15, 20 years you're still
I would
there.
tell that lab guy, if he's just fresh out of technician school or something, and most likely in technician school he learned analog, I'll tell him go do 1 month of ExaCAD or 3Shape or CAD software. You have to learn that ASAP. Don't spend 1 week doing analog. unless you want to be like layering guy and a design lab, which is fine. I feel like it's shrinking this market, but I feel like you have to digitize ASAP. Yeah. And the only way you digitize is learn the skills, and a key skill is CAD.
How do you think the lab market will look like in 10 years from now?
Well, we already know it's shrinking. Technicians are shrinking.
Yeah.
As a workforce, which is sad.
Yeah, this is clear.
It's very sad. But I really do think this is where AI will help, though. If the workforce is shrinking, AI can help make the workforce more efficient.
But it's also a different profile, I guess. And if you don't learn the digital dentistry in dental school, so it's kind of difficult to also build a profession based on that when you're getting out, and you have to relearn basically what is actual today.
And most universities don't have a digital dentistry curriculum.
Yeah.
Most.
And I think
when I graduated, sorry to interrupt you.
No, go.
When I graduated, it was just shy of 10 years ago. I was still doing amalgam. I didn't do composite fillings.
Wow.
I didn't even know what a scanner was. My father always laughs at me because when I left dental school, the first thing I asked him was, "Where's the amalgam filling?" And he's like, "What the hell are you talking about, son?" And I told him, but the water and the contamination, and he was just like, "Oh, whatever, shut the hell up." So you get your degree, and then I feel like the real learning starts.
Then I teach you the real stuff. So okay.
It's interesting, when we had this question at the media event, where somebody asked, because we put our pillars, education is super important, and she was questioning us, I see only digital AI and all of these things, so do I really need education? And obviously our answer was, of course you need to understand, gingiva, you need to understand the clinical side, you need to understand soft tissue and all of these things.
Simple thing about AI people don't get is that you still have to run the AI.
Exactly.
The AI is not a magical wand. It's just like ChatGPT. If you don't know the right prompt and it gives you a response, if you don't understand the content, you don't know if the content's right or wrong.
It's asking the right question.
You don't know. And so you, of course, have to understand. Because if you just rely on AI, you don't know if the margin is right. You don't even know what a margin line is.
Exactly.
So you have to learn the foundations. All AI will do is make us more efficient.
Yeah, but what does this mean then on the lab side? Because on the clinician side, we're always going to have a lot of clinicians who will go through university. If you have more and more shrinking lab population who really learn this from scratch and can really understand it, will AI sooner or later, really take this over? Or what do you see? I mean, we see a lot of consolidation already happening on the lab side, a lot of PEs investing there.
AI is unlocking things as well. This is an interesting thing. Like right now, we have a few AI big players. 3Shape with Automate, Dentbird, Atomica AI, they came out of nowhere. These Egyptian guys, and they made stackable guides. I think, look, AI is not going to totally replace everything we do, but I don't believe a surgical guide for one implant should be done by a human start to finish. If the AI ChatGPT can pass the bar exam for law, I think
you should be able to make a guide.
It can make a guide.
Absolutely
they
right.
Can make a guide.
And I think it's spot on what you're saying. There is this term called hallucination of generative AI, and if you don't know your how to build a crown and how it needs to look like, you will not see whether it's wrong or not. Now, what I found very fascinating is that it's moved from a single crown even to maybe a full arch that AI starts to be building. Where do you see? I mean, you're in contact with all of those companies. Dentbird, you mentioned Atomic AI. What is the current leading company in terms of CAD AI?
Probably 3Shape.
3Shape?
3Shape. 3Shape in terms of the designs looking very good. I would say 3Shape is the leader. Dentbird is close. Atomic AI, a lot of them making these AI software. SprintRay is making a CAD AI. The issue is you can make the CAD AI, but it's hard to get the proposals looking very nice. This takes a lot of effort.
Do you think it's efficient, what's happening right now in the industry? That basically, I mean, it started with segmentation, etc., and now everybody builds AI for customized abutments, and then the next is crown design,
surgical planning,
all of these companies out there. Everybody's investing a lot of money on smaller data sets, with 3Shape having maybe one of the largest. And at the end of the day, it's a lot of double and triple and quadruple work.
I feel like the entire industry right now, dentistry, I feel like is genuinely, I think it's a bit of a mess.
Bit of a mess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
I don't think something as niche as dentistry needs 30 scanning products. 30 different intraoral scanners. So I think, and like 10 different AIs and 260 printers.
It's crazy, no?
I think it needs to consolidate.
So you believe that there will be significant consolidation as well going
I
forward?
hope, because my job at IDD is getting very hard.
It's so many products that you need to look at and compare. Yeah.
But look, I
understand.
think you know what's I think is gonna drive the consolidation is the R&D requirements.
Yes.
That's gonna drive consolidation, because to release a scanning product, let's say scanners, it was simple enough to make a scanner that works. Everyone can do it now, and Chinese products can do it. But for example, with this horizontal scan body wave that Elite started, it's not so simple to do this.
No.
And now you're going to have two types of scanners now. The ones that have the R&D budget or the collaborations like with True Abutment that 3Shape did. And all of these scanners will have full arch solution. And all the others which don't have the R&D budget to do this will not have it. And now there's a very clear segmentation now in the market. And I feel like this is what's going to drive some consolidation.
And probably it's going to become much more expensive to do incremental improvements. So I think it has a lot to do also with the size of the data that you have available.
Yeah.
So I mean that 3Shape is probably leading the pack is not by chance. There's a lot of data behind
Huge.
that. And
They were doing
companies,
it first. There's a power in doing something first. They're one of the first like AI crown design. They were doing it 5-6 years ago or something.
I also believe that there could be a lot of drive also for innovation if you have competition. So I understand that having 30 scanners right now doesn't make sense. However, if there wouldn't have been competition, I think the prices would still be
100%. No, I
much
love
higher.
competition.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's been fascinating to watch the industry. When I started, there was 3 scanners. Ceric, Plan Mecca, and Trios. And, and I've been very involved, much like you guys. You guys have been very involved as well in digital. And I have to say it's been fascinating watching it change, because it's changed radically and at an extreme pace. But I also feel like we're going to get to the point where you're going to get some shrinkage of this market, because these booths are not cheap.
No.
No, definitely not. No.
And you have some companies, I don't know how they're selling products.
Exactly.
But time will tell. I mean, this is like any market, right?
I mean, at the end of the day, when you look at the scanner market today, the only thing what can really sustain high price levels is innovation, right? I mean, otherwise prices are going to come down. Where do you see the biggest potential still for the pure IO companies out there? I mean, we had now this huge wave of Scanbodies, etc. that Shining started. Now everybody has
Has to have one.
You have to have one.
Which is, by the way, incredible.
Yeah, but it's branching out, but a little bit more from the pure scanning into workflow already, no? So where do you believe, big innovation? Do you think is that there will be still a lot of hardware and AI innovation that where you can be able to sustain price levels above 25,000?
I truly believe it's going to be mostly software and workflow innovation going forward. There's a lot that can be done still with a scanner software. I'll give you an example. I think it'd be amazing for a scanner, after you do a crown preparation, instantly the AI tells you if you've done sufficient reduction.
Yeah.
Why is it doesn't exist? Or instantly it tells you, is the margin clear?
Yeah.
There's still room for software improvements that will actually make clinical relevance to clinician. I think the hardware game is starting to slow, and it's starting to get a bit
Boring.
Same.
Yeah, same.
Smaller, wireless, smaller, 240 grams.
200.
Smaller. Yeah. It's been like this for maybe 4 years.
Yeah.
But the big innovations, I mean, I think, with 3Shape, with Trios 6, this is interesting. I think this is a step in the right direction. I think it's a big gamble for the company to price it at 28,000. This is a big move, which we'll have to see if it works out. But I think this is the direction they may branch into, where it's I feel like with all these platforms and softwares, dentistry is still, I don't think it's very mature in digital. I think it's beyond infancy, but it still needs, it could be much more seamless. There's too much apps and opening things and many clicking and doing this.
Yeah.
I feel like Trios with the 6 is in the right direction because you scan and then a thing opens and it has all the different diagnoses. And more solutions like this could develop because AI can do a lot for us. I mean, a scan is a lot of data. But the idea that you're going to keep, you're going to get to a point where driving prices down, no one's going to win.
Yes.
No,
A scanner is like 2,000 now. They're not very good, I have to say. There's clear differences between the more
High-end scanner.
I would say anything mid-tier and higher end, the accuracy seems to be in realm with each other. The really cheap ones, in my testing for full arch implant accuracy, like most of the market is around 20 to 30 microns. Mid-tier and higher, let's say over 13,000 and higher. When you go to the 2,000 to 3,000 scanners, they can be as high as 100 microns discrepancy. Not all scanners are the same.
That's
but
true.
even this discussion is not being had. No one knows. It's just many products, a lot of marketing, a lot of brochures.
Yeah, it's easy to make brochures, but then the measurement actually shows. So, talking about precision, do you think photogrammetry is soon a thing of the
I
past?
think it was a transitional solution.
Yeah. So the precision of IO scanners is sufficient to actually
With these
do full arch
horizontal
scans?
scan bodies, I mean, in my own testing, and I hope to publish this paper hopefully this year.
Yeah.
I am convinced this is the way forward. These horizontal scan bodies, like true abutment, I know you guys are developing. Everyone serious is developing.
I mean, we already have a Straumann exact solution.
So,
But there's a lot of thinking about next generation, the generation after.
and I
also make
think
it more seamless.
the really smart photogrammetry companies are pivoting, like Pick with the iPhone,
Yeah.
and I think the ones that are gonna just say, "Oh no, we're more accurate," it's gonna be hard for them in the next few years.
So maybe let's talk about printing then. So
Let's talk a little bit about printing
I'm sure
before we
you're
talk
very-
a bit more about platforms.
I'm sure, Florian, you're very keen to talk about printing.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, first question maybe for you, and I think you wrote a nice article already today. But how do you see this partnership with SprintRay of Straumann now?
I think it's probably it's one of the smartest things you guys could have done, because you picked the restorative printer. I speak for a lot of printing companies, Formlabs, Asiga, and I don't change my speech based on the booth I'm at. I don't just go and
On
say
the podcast.
no, I'm very clear, and even the companies, I feel like this is why I'm credible, because they keep hearing me say the same thing, even to their face.
Yeah.
So to me, there's top three printers in the market right now is Asiga, SprintRay, Formlabs. And to me, when someone asks me which one's the best, it's very clear. Asiga is the lab printer. If you want something open, very precise, very nice, but SprintRay dominates chairside, especially with the Midas. It's a precision, not precision instrument, but it's precisely made for the clinician.
Yeah, exactly. And how do you think the whole resin R&D is going to evolve? So what do you if you had to make a guess right now in 2 years from now or 3 years from now?
I'm hoping.
What can we do?
I'm hoping that the resins improve, and they already have improved, because I've been using their resins since some of their first generation kind of onyx, and then they said ceramic crown, and now they have HT, and you can see improvements. I wouldn't say they're groundbreaking, but they are improvements. And the SprintRay guys know me quite well now, speaking for them. Originally, I used to tell them, I don't like it. I used to tell it to them, I don't believe in this, because the resins weren't there. I wouldn't say the gap is closing towards zirconia and Emax, because that gap will never close. You're comparing resin to ceramic.
Yeah.
But the gap that is closing is what is acceptable.
What is good enough?
What's good enough? That's the gap that's closing. And when that closes, I think we're going to have a paradigm shift. Just like before Emax was released, everyone in dentistry did metal. Metal crowns, gold crowns, PFM. And if you told someone ceramic, you're like a joke. If you say to the posterior ceramic, maybe some expert with really nice preps, but no one really did it mass market. And I feel like with resins, it's the same thing. The material companies, all these material big industry are taking note. You can see the partnerships that are being announced. Ivoclar, 3M Health, which is now I can't remember the name.
Solventum.
So I don't know what this name is.
I don't know where this is coming from.
I don't know. I don't want to say something off.
I think they're down the hall.
I don't know what this name is. It sounds like Leech or something.
Exactly.
Creative name, but anyway, they're all doing partnerships. The issue is we need to see the results.
Exactly.
The partnerships are nice. We need to see something.
Final printed crown. Do you think it's possible?
Yeah, 100%. What's final? Nothing. You know, it's always like, will it last forever? Nothing lasts forever.
No.
An implant doesn't last forever.
And it's digital. You can
At which
reprint
point
it.
is it good enough for us? And that depends on every clinician is different, what their risk profile and what they're happy to accept. If a composite crown, because that's what they are right now, resin with some filler. If it can last 5 years, are you happy? If it can last 10 years. Right now, I think with resin crowns, the main issue is staining and wear. That's the main issues, because they're not glazed like ceramic. Ceramic is like a plate.
Yeah.
It's a glassware. Whatever curry food you put on it, it still matches its color.
Yeah.
Resin is porous.
Yeah, and
this is a big challenge.
Exactly.
The other thing is the color, the multi-layer. But to be honest, for posterior, it's like not the end of the world.
Yeah, exactly.
But like the staining, and the other thing is the wearing down. Because some resins are wearing down within 6 months. And the issue now is the industry's too fast. Every 2-3 months we get a new resin. So I think the dust will settle eventually.
And then you will see what survives.
What's good, what's not. But I've seen composites that have been placed by clinicians that's like bulk fill, that's last 5 years.
It's good enough. So,
exactly.
Okay.
So, and I think that the interesting thing is the workflow makes it very compelling. Like with Midas, I had a case, I showed at the booth, 2 crowns side by side. To print 2 is 7 minutes. To wash is a minute or 2. To cure is 3 minutes. 2 crowns in 10 minutes.
Yeah. No, that's a game changer.
That's starting to feel interesting.
Yeah.
Now I want it just to work for the sake of working. You know, I want it to work. But this is where it's a bigger picture than will printed crowns replace ceramic, but it's more than that. You have to kind of look at the big picture.
Yeah. I mean, a big foundation of the SprintRay partnership, and I am really interested on your perspective on this side, is, you know, that we, throughout the whole discussions with Amir and the team and Eric, it was a lot about the joint vision, and we now create, for them it's like they are a hardware manufacturer. You know, they have created this, then they have created resins now, they have evolved, they have their platform. But now I think they as well realized that, you know, to take the next step into the workflow when you want to be in, like on our side now on the implantology side, and you really want to have game-changing products, potentially customized abutment printed in the future, something like this, then it needs a very different industry expertise to help them get there. Do you think that can become a bigger trend in the industry when we talk as well a bit about consolidation? And this?
I definitely think it's going to go towards solution-based, not feature-based things. So we need solutions. And to have a solution, you need the end-to-end solution. So I definitely think companies like SprintRay partnering with you is very smart, because you have a scanner, which was a great acquisition, by the way. And you will hopefully develop some CAD or work with some CAD or AI CAD. And then you need your output.
Correct.
And I feel like with all the noise that's around us, I feel like clinicians don't want to piecemeal solutions.
Everything's together. This is very cumbersome.
They want to go, and they go somewhere, and this is the portfolio. This is what you can do. This is how it all talks to each other.
Yeah, it was as well part of the vision when we discussed with SprintRay, because I think it was a big step for them as well, because they have a very successful platform around their printers now.
I'm sure everyone's asking them.
You know, and I'm integrating this like natively with Access to really drive this. And for them as well, it was a lot about always, customer first. What is the customer experience? If I'm there on this platform, then I have to jump and I have to go back, etc. This is not the seamless, fully integrated workflow. And so they really kind of gave up their platform. What is as well for them, it's as well a lot of data and, you know, these kind of things, is that I'm really committing for the sake of our customers out there. and to really make this as seamless and easy as possible. I think that's a huge step, and kudos to the team. And I really hope that this can be as well something that we'll see more often in the industry now, because I think clinicians are sick and tired of jumping from left and right and up and down to all of these platforms where nothing syncs. No?
I agree. I totally agree. And I think that problem is not solved yet.
No.
And it's a big problem.
And it's, I think
with
it's also
many movable parts.
A big possibility to innovate. I think this is where, the consolidation will come together with utility. So where actually we can provide, if we make this work, quite a utility also to customers, and hopefully also then gain, the acceptance to use our ecosystem. Now I feel that we could talk another hour about this. So time is.
It's too much fun.
It's running very quickly. I mean, this question I of course have to ask. So, what stood out for you so far? What you saw at the IDS this year? Is there anything that actually popped out where you see, oh, that's I didn't know about it and it was really noteworthy?
See, I usually learn about most things before
the IDS. Yeah.
So, but I would say, look, there are some things I think. This whole dynamic of everyone trying to make a pod or a capsule now is kind of interesting. Sega released the pod, and I think they're fantastic printers, so they're really challenging this. They're not just going to let Midas,
of course,
take over.
So this is very interesting to me. But look, nothing super crazy. I think we've already had those events in the past year. I think Midas was one of those events. I think was like a big leapfrog. No one expected it. I think Shining Elite with this photogrammetry is a big leapfrog. This caught the whole industry by surprise. I didn't feel like anything was super surprising, but there was interesting things like now I think it's this platform era where you walk around and every company in digital is talking about a platform. And now it's going to see like who's going to win.
Yeah.
Because we don't need 10 different platforms.
And it goes back to your first argument. At a certain point in time, this platform investment gets so prohibitively expensive.
Exactly.
That there needs to be some kind of consolidation sooner or later.
It's definitely all about platforms now. It's like, I mean, look, the usual stuff. I'm sure you're sick of hearing AI is everywhere and printing is everywhere. We get it. It's everywhere. It's here. Yeah. I really think it's this platform game that's going to happen. And I think there's a lot of resistance, to be honest. I don't think... I hear a lot of nice stories by industry about platforms. I don't think clinicians are at the same level of where the industry think they are.
Yeah.
I think industry make a nice story of why clinicians should move. I don't think many clinicians want to move.
What's the resistance? Where's the resistance coming from?
Why do I need to change?
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of the stories, I don't think it's really understanding. Sometimes industry creates a problem to create a solution, and it makes a really nice story. But it's really, you need to for this platform thing to work, it needs to be so compelling that you don't have a choice but to be on it. And I don't think the compelling things are AI diagnostics and cloud sharing and collaboration. And this is not the key. I don't know what the key is, but I don't think that's the compelling thing. I think it has to be so compelling that everyone will want to be on it by necessity.
Yeah, and I think, customers or potential customers will need a lot of assistance in the transition now, because it entails in many areas a lot of process changes and in the clinic, and for them it's
and what's the benefit? Like after all of this, what is the benefit? And then I also have to pay a subscription fee. What did I get out of it? I got some AI diagnostics and I can share some CBCTs on a cloud. That's not enough.
I distinctly remember one of the reviews of our was a competitive platform of us, and I think it was your last sentence where you wrote, It's a really amazing platform, and I'm really stunned why nobody knows about that. And I think this really puts it, hits the nail on the head. It's like, it's very good. You can build, and this is, I think, a bit the industry problem, or like not problem, but the challenge we have is like, you can dream up the most amazing platform, and with all the bells and whistles and features, etc. But if you're not able to really find the right solution and customer segment who really wants to adopt that, and who's really, because you will have early adopters.
Of course.
DSOs are very interested, obviously, because
DSOs,
they
like it because of
efficiency.
surveillance, I think.
But I think until it reaches the mass
I think
market.
DSOs like platforms because it's a lot of data.
Yeah, of course.
And DSOs love that stuff. But DSOs, I know they're big and they're a big segment in the US, and I love DSOs. But they're not mass market.
No, exactly.
They are in the States maybe, but I think mass market, I haven't seen a compelling argument to go and jump onto a platform. And I'm the digital guy.
So that's another discussion that will take a little bit longer, but it's very interesting.
Another 45 minutes.
Exactly. So, but this brings us already to close to the end. So we would also like to give you the chance to ask Florian and myself questions.
You can shoot the questions,
exactly.
Of course.
Take the gloves off.
Yeah. I have a question for you guys. And I always ask industry about these things. It's not just about what I saw and what I think, because you guys have the finger on the pulse. It's part of your business. What did you see? What are some things that excite you in this IDS? What are things that you think are overlooked? Maybe will be big trends in the future.
So I would see two things. So the first one is digital surgery as a whole topic, and with this I mean from digital planning to guides to dynamic navigation to robotics. We see this as a continuum, and I believe that this is going to be very close to becoming so easy to actually use that there will be the question from surgeons, well, why should I not know exactly the location of my instrument, because the setup time is almost nothing. Yeah. And technically, I believe we're really close to that. Then it's also the question of adaptation. But this is something that fascinates us quite a bit, because it's building the intraoral GPS basically of for dentistry. That, I mean, you guys are doing so much precision work, and knowing where you are all the time, I think that opens up a lot of possibilities to make the work easier, more efficient, and maybe also less mistake prone.
I feel like there needs a whole culture shift.
Mm-hmm. How do you see this as a clinician? Let's say you have then a device, but actually this is following you and recording every single step.
I don't mind this. I personally believe it will always be niche.
Okay.
And because I feel like surgical guides are so good now and so cheap. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Surgical guides work very well. I know you don't have the live feedback, but and surgical guides now are very fast to make, and they're very cheap to produce. And we still don't have close to mass market on surgical guides. Maybe it's 10%.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Exactly. I mean, so exactly these internal discussions.
So if it's 10% on surgical guides and they're very cheap, what's the percentage on a $20,000 unit? And I feel like it's not so much that the units don't work or something. I think it's just a culture that needs to change about implantology and changing this mentality that you're an amazing clinician just because you can do it freehand. Anywhere else in the world, if I had to go get brain surgery and he said I'm going to do it freehand, I'll be like, what the hell's going on here?
Eye surgery.
Surgery.
There is a lot of these let's say trends that actually go in that direction. But I agree with you. It's the question is, why are guides, for example, not higher penetrated? I think it will also change with chairside production, because there is still an under penetration of, let's say.
And I also think it's again. I think it's generational.
Yeah.
I think the newer generation, more tech accepting, these sort of things. The other thing I think about surgical guides is a lot of people got burnt badly in the first generation of surgical guides, and that put them off technology.
They still remember, they say, never again. Yeah.
It's like people that tried the first generation scan and will never scan again. So the first generation of surgical guides were very rough. Yeah. It was a tough time. And you would do it, and then the implant's wrong, and you're like, why am I doing this? It's come a long way.
Yeah. No, but we had these discussions about this kind of dynamic navigation devices internally as well, and I think we can share this. When we first launched Falcon, it was like we had a lot of internal discussions. There's something really exciting for our customers, and we had many discussions with Guillaume at the time. Said, I'm not sure if this is maybe it's good to test the market, and it was surprising when we had the International Aesthetic Days in Mallorca. We had like, I think, 50 or something like this, and they were gone after one day.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they were all sold out.
And it was crazy.
Yeah.
And
Amazing.
since then, we're like more in the learning mode where we say like something is there.
Something is happening.
Because these are expensive devices now. It's like, and yes, there's well, a lot of...
And look, when you use it, it is amazing. I've like used X-Guide. I don't think I've used a Falcon, but I've used X-Guide. I've used Navident. It is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
at the end of the
still
day,
too clunky in the sense that, you know, it takes a lot of preparation time. If that goes away...
Exactly.
And
This is
if
still the
if you don't need
resistance.
to, let's say, worry about the trackers
and the
all that
calibration,
exactly.
and every time you change a tool, you have to...
But, you know, technically, I believe that we're close to breakthroughs on that area. So that's why I think it's...
And when you watch it being done, it feels like this is the future.
You know, park assistance.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, in the car,
Exactly.
would you? Of course, you can park without
Exactly.
it. But would you
I
turn it
can't,
off?
man. Every time I've crashed my car, I was reversing every time.
Okay.
It's happened 4 times.
Do you believe that? Sorry, just a follow-up question that I had off the top of my mind. Do you believe that in the future, like remote monitoring will play a role in our industry? Like
I think
in
so.
implantology,
Maybe.
etc.?
Like, look, for orthodontics, of course. You
Yeah,
know,
it makes a
dental
lot of
monitoring
sense.
was the first unicorn dental business. Do you
Yeah.
remember this news?
Yeah, dental monitoring. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, look, I think for orthodontics makes a lot of sense. For many other things, I don't think patients want to hear from us, to be honest. Like maybe wear or something,
Yeah.
but I think it's definitely it's an orthodontic thing. I can't imagine tele dentistry being just cameras and these sort of things, because with dentistry you still need radiographs. You can do a very limited examination without radiographs.
Yeah. No, I mean, we had a lot of discussion actually with dental monitoring about this.
Super genius idea.
Whether it will ever, spill over into other parts of dentistry.
Possibly, but again, it's just we're actually quite limited what we can see with our eyes.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, intraoral imaging in a whole sense, not just optical. I think that's also another, very interesting trend to look at with optical coherence tomography or ultrasound. Looking into the body without having X-ray.
Now we have MRIs by Dentsply. That'll be interesting. Very expensive.
Well, I mean, that's MRI is shooting with the big cannon.
That is a big cannon.
So, but anyhow,
That is not a cannon,
it's,
that's a rocket ship.
Exactly, it can be miniaturized as well. All right, I think that really brings us to the end of this very interesting, I would say, and personal talk with you. So thanks a lot for all the insights. Thanks
you.
a lot for spending
Really
time with us.
appreciate the time.
That was a great conversation.
Thank you for having me, and it's always an honor to speak with industry leaders like yourself, and it's an honor to be here at the Straumann booth at IDS 2025. It's
So we make this a regular now, no?
I hope
Next
so.
IDS,
That's it.
we're going to
That's
meet
it.
again.
We're gonna have our own. We're gonna have our own trends, not just Rune.
Yeah, we're going to have the trends also of implantology. So to all the listeners, thanks a lot for staying with us. I hope this was very informative and interesting. And please subscribe. And if you want to get in contact with us, then use the digital platforms to also ask questions. Whenever we get them, we try to mingle them into our next podcasts. And, stay tuned and look forward to the next conversation that we're going to have with interesting personalities in dentistry.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.